Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Why. This is one that I have been super excited about doing, wanting to do for a long time. One of my best friends in the entire world, Mr. Bob Hoel. I'm super excited to have him on. More importantly than owning Hoel Roofing and Remodeling, he's Emily's husband, I would say. And I'll let him give his skinny. So Bob, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
The best part about me is my beautiful family, beautiful bride Emily of almost 13 years here in a few months, and we've got three precious kiddos. Rhett will be 9 here shortly, Reagan's 7, and Riley is 5. So
yeah, man. So the one thing that I think is, not you and I obviously talk about this a ton, just because we talk like almost every day it seems like. And what is it like raising a family and growing a business? Because you guys did you have all the kids before you started the business?
Pretty much, yeah. Riley was a baby, a couple weeks old when we decided. We kind of drew that line in the sand and said, come high, hell, or water, this is going to work. So, yeah. It's hard, to be honest, because, I want to drive, I want to grow. However, I've always said this, I want a successful family over a successful business. And you can have both, and I just got to remember I'm running my race, and there are going to be roofing companies bigger than me, and that's okay. And it doesn't make them bad, or it doesn't make them good, either or. I just, I don't want my kids growing up hating the business. And, that's just kind of where I'm at. But I also want my kids to see the struggle, and I want them to see us enjoying the fruits of our labors.
No, for sure, man. And so with that, I know you have the kids super involved with the business, which is awesome. I mean, and obviously, we say around here, we're not doing that. We're not doing those things to get the publicity. But I'm sure there has been some where people, we were just talking earlier. A lady had made a comment that how much the kids had grown,
yeah.
As they watch them grow through the business, really. And it does put them in a light, which is really good and gives them opportunity to learn stuff that you and I probably, I know sure as hell we learned the hard way and all that good stuff. So what's something obviously you're here at our retreat. You're talking about the financial piece stuff with us and the Ramsey stuff. And I know that's been a super big passion point in your life, but, is there anything else that you're really passionate about right now that you've been doing? We got to talk about that stuff. What is your purpose, right? So what are you doing what you're doing for? I know that's been a big one for you. Is there any others that, you can share with us?
It's growing a business to provide opportunity for as many people as I can. I don't have a number set on that, the whole Dave Ramsey, the financial piece, financial freedom. As Dave says, financial peace are two words that don't really go together in very many people's lives. So to me, that means a lot to me that I can be able to help my team and them see that. Because if I can help them get to that point of financial peace, let's talk about legacy and changing family trees. Not only is the Dave Ramsey principles saved, or not saved, but change my family tree. It's when my team members get a hold of it and they start doing that. So that, right now my focus is growing a business, loving my family, and just making the biggest impact as I can.
Yeah. So what's that impact look like for you? Obviously it's impacting your team and your community, but is there any works that you're doing outside of, little old Rushville, Indiana right now?
And that's the funny thing. We're in a small rural town. The people that know Rushville, town of 6,000-7,000 people, and we're growing a roofing business that it was ironic. We're building a new house, and the guy that owns the lot next to us, the plot, he said, "Man, I was talking to so-and-so the other day, and how many trucks do you guys have on the road?" And I just kind of laughed, and we kind of talked numbers and stuff like that, and he was just blown away on how big the company was. And I've never really cared about how big it was. It was okay, how can I impact more lives? Quality jobs for team members, just texting one earlier, she had to take off and take care of some stuff, and she's like, "I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Just go do it." I was like, "You go above and beyond us. You answer the phone calls on a Saturday night at 8 o'clock. if you need to go take care of that paperwork, go take care of it.
Well, yeah, and it's like I say all the time, man. Everybody wants to say they're a family, right? And then it's like it's showing. It's showing that we're a family. Like when things come up, we love on each other. We hold each other accountable. Sometimes we get angry with one another with our actions, and it's not always negative. It doesn't have to be negative in that. And a lot of times, folks, I know you and I come from, where we want to build our companies for places we wanted to work,
right,
and places that we wanted to be. You said something there, and that is that growing the business doesn't have to be about the money and people over profit, type of thing. That's kind of been the theme this weekend, man. Is our team come down here and they're thinking, and you do the same thing with your team every year. Actually, we did our first one together,
absolutely,
right down the road. Yeah, you have to see it when you roll out of here, but. People over profit is so important because the profit comes because of the people, and a lot of times business owners just don't get that. They just don't understand. They want everything to be, about the money, and the money's not as glorious as it seems like it should be.
Well, and I mean, if you're not happy running a $1 million roofing company, you're not going to really be happy running a $5 or an $8 or $10 million company. And it's really no different in life. It doesn't matter what house you live in, what car you drive, like. There's a threshold where after you make a certain amount of money, like there is no more happiness with more money. Now, money's not evil. I'm not one of them. We're not one of them people either that are like, oh my gosh, you got to be poor and you got to drive a 27-year-old Honda Accord to make it to heaven. Like it's not that either. However, it's just it's given the opportunities and we're in the process. One of our guys is buying his first house. I believe he's 22 years old. Like that's cool to see him step into that. With our team, especially here lately, it seems like we've got everybody getting married and having kids, and just to watch them guys, just young men that a couple of them sell for me, like turn in from just seeing that light bulb, that light switch going off, like. Holy cow, like I've got a kid to provide for, to be an example to. And I just had a conversation with one of them yesterday on the way here. Like, he's like, well, I'm not going to coach my son's, ball team until next year or until this fall. I was like, bro, if you got one to coach this spring or summer, do it. I said, the work's going to be there, and I mean that. I'm a lot better. Now I'm getting better at taking some time away, but before, like I was a lot better at, hey, make sure you're enjoying life and that kind of stuff. And then one day Emily's like, so when are you gonna start enjoying life? All right, fair enough.
Well, you brought her up, so let's talk about her. I mean, another one of Tori and I. Once again, it's really cool that we've been able to build a relationship as a couple together, right? And been able to do all that stuff. So, fortunately, I've got to know Emily pretty well. And I definitely call her one of my close friends, and for sure one of Tori's. As she was also in our wedding, and I know working as a couple in a business, it's much like we have here. Everybody's like, oh, I wouldn't work with family. I work with a ton of family. I think that's where we probably connected the most, man, because we have those.
But at least you don't have to fucking go home with them.
Well, no, you're not wrong. So what's that like? What's that been like navigating that, man? Because that's not easy, right?
I always say it's the most rewarding and the most challenging thing. I mean, it's almost like having kids, in my opinion, and it's awesome that you're getting ready to experience that real soon. To me, I like my wife. I like being around my wife. Like some people don't like their spouse, so they couldn't work together because they don't want to be around them. However, it's a growing point for me because as a male, let's just be honest. Males forget. If I piss you off right now, you're gonna forget about it in a couple of hours. Where 3 weeks later, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you were so mad about this one job," and I'm like, "I don't even remember that one job,"
right.
And that's okay, So it's navigating that. I think it makes our relationship stronger, and I also just try to enjoy it. One thing that I said with my kids is I promised myself that I was going to enjoy what phase of life they were in. Some people will wish away the diaper phase or the teenage phase, but I look at it as there's just different phases in life. So, that's just, right now it's just one that we get to enjoy. We're actually in the process of actually trying to transition her down to more more 3 days a week. I don't want to really say part-time work because I know no matter when she's working, she's going to be working full-time.
Yeah, of course.
But just to be able to have a little more freedom with the kids, being, right now she's a full-time mom, full-time, business owner. And it's just something that we want. Like, we didn't start the business with the idea of her working 70, 80 hours a week.
Yeah, so is that something too to challenge you a little bit? You've thought about as dad too, is making sure that you're being I know you're intentional. Our good friend Eric Obram, one of the best things that I think that he's given not only the roofing industry but just people in general is his daddy-daughter Sundays, man. And I'm stoked when Lainey gets here to be able to do those. And I know you've been intentional about doing those with your kids too. But have you? Because I know you're like me, man. You work, and it's because we do the shit that we were doing it when nobody else was there, right? So now that people are there, it doesn't mean that we stop doing it because it's the habits we have. So have you thought about changing that too for you?
I mean, I'm being super intentional on father-son retreat. Did that last year with Hunter and some other friends. So I'm doing that again with Rhett this year. And one thing that I've kind of been convicted of probably the last year is just because the kids are around, like, I think that's quality time with them, and it's not necessarily. I went to some training about a year ago, and one thing that they recommended, like, if you have young kids, like, go home and play at their level, like, get on the floor, and, like, try to see life from their view. Like, they're innocent, like, they don't stress about the sales guy selling enough jobs. They don't stress about everything we stress about. Like,
they don't care what you're driving. They don't care what kind of house they live in.
They don't. I mean, like, it's so funny. We're in the process of building a house, and we had a house that started as a rental house, turned into a flip house, and we discussed selling our current house, moving into the flip house, and the kids were excited about it. And it's because it was new. It was new to them.
Yeah.
Like, it would be a downgrade in the worldly standards if we moved from that house to that house. But the kids were like, come on, Mom. And Emily was just more didn't want to move twice, and she didn't really care that it was a downgrade. So, yeah, I mean, that's just one thing. Here lately, we've been playing the freaking, it's not, I guess you call it a board game, Dominoes, with the kids.
Nice.
And I'd never even played it till, like, 3 or 4 weeks ago.
I was gonna say I couldn't play. Like, if you put dominoes on me, I'd be like, I don't know what you're
the kids absolutely love it, and it's just, and it's just teaching them. Like, I mean, there's too much of this. We're on our phones. Too many parents like having the TV raise their kids, and I love it watching my kids. They've been doing puzzles here lately a lot and playing the dominoes game of just like of having to think. Now I try to teach them with dominoes. It's pure luck. What you draw, really,
it's a game of chance, right?
Yeah, and freaking Red's a competitive little shithead.
As I know.
So he's just like beating up on his sisters when he wins, And poor little Rye the other day, I said, "Are you blind?" Because she could play a domino. And then Reagan started picking on her. I was like, "Guys, she's my princess. I'll kill you," So, but yeah, I mean it's not easy, and like I said, I want that balance of them seeing the struggle. I don't want them growing up feeling entitled or like, oh, my mom and dad have a $10-20 million roofing business, whatever it is at that time, and feel like they're above somebody because of that.
Well, and I think that's something that Tori and I have struggled with is, we're already successful.
Right.
We're going to continue to be successful. You can strip away my roofing company from me tomorrow. I'll figure out a way.
Right.
My daughter, material-wise, could have a much better childhood than I could have ever dreamed of, right? But we also know that all of our trials and all of our struggles made us who we are. So it's hard because you're like, man, how do I make sure that I make the wall, right? And almost make it feel like we're poor. You know what I mean? It's what you almost have to do is like, all right, so how do I make it feel like we not that we can't afford food or, we can't afford to go, all right, so like we can't afford to go to that movie or we can't afford to go out to eat tonight or things like that. And I guess those things like made me who I am, right? Because I heard my parents say those things because they had me when they were really young. So they just didn't have a lot of money. It wasn't there. And I know, you have a similar situation where you were raised, primarily by your dad and, same thing, right? Like it was just, it's not that he wasn't doing it. It's not that you guys weren't taking care of,
Right.
but you also didn't want that life.
Right.
So how do you motivate your kids, man? That's the struggle I'm dealing with right now. And then not having the freaking phone in their hand. And that's one thing I wanted to make sure that I hit on, man, is you and Emily have done a fantastic job in making sure in today's world, as crazy as it is, as shitty as it is, to the effect of just how it works, right? And the things we don't like about it, you guys have done a good job of removing the kids from that pretty damn good. Maybe too good by some people's measure, just because your kids go out and play in the dirt.
Right.
Your kids, I mean, we were out at your house, freaking Rhett and Riley, or Rhett and Reagan are begging me to freaking go start the go-kart where you were off somewhere else, and just enjoying farm life and just being kids. The stuff that we wanted and the stuff that we know that made us who we are. That's what Tori and I really want for our kids, man. Like, that's the ultimate dream, is having that. It don't even have to be a big farm. Having that 10 acres that just they can go freaking dick off on, and I know they're going to be safe because it's my property.
Yep.
Nobody's out there going to freaking hunt them or shoot them or nothing like that. And that's really the dream, man. Like, everybody wants to go back to the material shit, and that's all great. But when it comes to kids, man, it's just giving them the stuff that made us who we are, but at the same time, knowing that we can provide for them much better than we can. And that's the hard part, because
Yeah, and I mean, it's just but you got to be intentional about that. And one thing is, like, we get wrapped up is like what vehicle we're driving, or what the house looks like, or I mean, now we live on 13 acres and it's a modular. We've remodeled the entire modular, so it's a nice one. The kids, there's a pond back there, there's a creek back there. Like, Rhett's actually disappointed because we're moving, and the new place has a little bigger creek. You can't really call it a river, He's already been out there looking for fish out there and found some, And so, like, kudos to Emily, because, she's just been very intentional of, like, hey, like, as simple as she had the friggin' truck driver bring in a load of sand, that big tree out front of the house. Like, the kids have spent hours in front of that and so, doing that. And, like, I mean, my kids couldn't operate a tablet. If you gave them a tablet right now, they wouldn't even know how to turn it on.
unlike most kids, they grab a hold of it and they work better than we do.
Yeah.
Because they're smart. I mean, kids are super smart and intelligent.
Yeah.
Hell, your kids are out operating equipment.
And like, but that saying that, nobody remembers that, like, what do you remember as a childhood? Like, what did you genuinely enjoy? Like, it wasn't watching some stupid TV show. Like, it was doing something. Like, growing up, like, I was always helping my dad on the farm. Like, that's my memories, Now, I want to be intentional and do family vacations and, stuff like that.
Stuff that you didn't get to do that can still be beneficial. Because, like, we've got a vacation plan with Lainey. She'll be in more countries than most adults at 6 months old.
Right.
It's just the way it's going to go. So that's where I'm talking about with that line, right? Because you want them to still experience stuff, but also have humility and understand that this is my money.
Yep.
This is mom and dad's money.
Yeah, it's just mom and dad. You're just lucky you were born.
Yeah, you got a genetic lottery. You won the genetic lottery, and it just means that I've started to relate more. Like, when you hear, do you remember like when we were kids and you heard about this, like that Billionaires Pact? You know what I'm talking about, where they donate all their money away and the kids get nothing.
Yep.
And I'm like, when we were kids, man, I was like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'm like, that's stupid. Why the hell would they donate all their money? And then you start thinking about it, you're like, no, they just want their kids to have their own legacy.
Yep.
They don't want their kids to be trust fund babies. That's what they're going for. And like, man, I've told my parents numerous times, like, you guys spend it all. Like, don't worry about me.
Right.
You don't have to, man. Like, that the ultimate reward as a parent is your kids being successful.
Well, and it's like, that is something that I struggle with, because, like, let's go back to Dave Ramsey. Like, he's raised 3 phenomenal kids. They all kind of work inside the business. His oldest daughter is head of the family foundation, so not necessarily in the business, but not out of the business. There is that balance. Like, I don't want them freaking doing coke on the back of the yacht
on dad's money.
However, like, what about if at 21, 22, we've coached them, loved them? What about if you put them in, a nice starter home paid for because you were financially wise? Like, so they're not struggling the next 5 to 7 to 8 to 10 years.
They get a leap start, right?
Now, one thing that I say is, like, your kids are watching.
Yep.
Like genuinely, like good, bad, or ugly. Like I'll tease my wife, and then next thing I know, I hear Rhett tease her. I'm like, hey, you little, I'm married to her, you know.
Yep.
And it's like, damn it, I can't just.
But you have to be
I
intentional
can't
about
say
it.
that to
Yeah.
Emily and then expect him not to.
Yeah.
However, they're watching on like, you know, on business and stuff. Like, you know, they're watching us be generous. They're, you know, we get to a job site and the kids fight over who rolls the magnet. Like, you know, hey guys, we got to pick up trash. Like they think it's fun right
But
now.
they're seeing you guys put in the work too.
Right.
Even though the business is successful, they're still watching you do the hard shit, man.
Right.
Like I've said numerous times, if I'm not the most qualified person to run this place anymore, and my most qualified position is me scrubbing toilets, by all means, I'm there because that's the mentality, and that's one thing that my parents did really well. And it sounds like your dad did too. And they had to.
Yeah.
You know, when Dad was freaking working, dude, he was the crew. Like, there was no crew. Like when your dad was baling hay,
Yep.
he was the guy planting, he was the guy cutting, he was the guy raking, he was the guy baling. You know, so it is what it is, man. You got to do what you got to do. So that's great, man. And that's a good perspective that our kids are watching us. It's like when Graham told us that, you know, you are who your sons will become and who your daughters will marry.
Right, absolutely.
Because they're going to sponge every single thing that you do. How you love their mama, how you treat their mama, how you do all that stuff, and then how you work as a man. And that's not just for men, though.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
the ladies still have to do it, too.
And that's, you know, and this, not to scare the shit out of you, but if that doesn't scare the shit out of you when you have a daughter, like, I don't know what will. And I mean, I tell the story, like, my son's the oldest, and then we never knew what we were having. And then we went to the hospital, and we had a little Reagan. And I remember walking outside, and that little princess, I love her, she woke us up about 3:30 that morning. Went to the hospital, and I think she finally came about 7 o'clock that night, you know, which is just totally
true
Reagan.
Reagan fashion, yeah.
We love her. And I remember walking outside to go get some food or something, and I looked up, and I was like, God, am I really supposed to have a girl in there? Like, you know, I felt like, you know, my dad did a pretty damn good job of raising me, work hard, treat women with respect, all that kind of stuff, you know. And then it was just like, damn, like, now I got a daughter, and I tell him now, I was like, hey, the first boy that wants to date you, I'm going to break his nose. And Emily's like, you can't say that. I said, yes, I can. I said, because that'll spread real quick.
Yep.
And even I told Riley the other day, I said, Riley, you're not allowed to date until you're 25. She goes, Mom's older than 25, so can she date? You know, so, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, I don't know, and you know what, and like, something I've learned is you gotta watch what you promise your kids, because they are listening and they are paying attention, and if you freaking, like,
If you
you
just
tell
get
them you're
off
gonna do
course just a
something,
little bit, yeah.
like, you know, they're gonna freaking remind you.
Especially, that's one thing I've noticed with Rhett, man. He's got the mind like an elephant. That dude remembers everything. And he's been a good lesson for you for that, for sure. You know, some kids, like, just because I know your kids, you know, Reagan, not as much on the attention side. You know,
Right.
She'll hear what she's going to get something, right? But she's not paying attention to everything. Rhett's a freaking sponge, man.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a good reminder. I'll tell you, man, when I found out we were having a little girl, I think I think you and I talked afterwards, and I don't know if I told you, I wasn't disappointed. It wasn't a feeling of disappointment. It was just a feeling of, it's kind of the same thing, man. I just was like, man, are you sure I'm ready for this, Lord? And everybody's like, man, you're going to be such a great girl dad. You're going to be such a great girl dad. I guess it's a time for self-reflection, right? And going, hey, am I the best version of myself? Right. Am I giving her the right example of who can be a provider in her life? Because although my wife is a hard worker, and just like yours is, you know, our wives probably outwork us by a lot of effects most days, right? Yeah, bullshit. And when you're watching this right now, yeah, you outwork him every day of the week. But although I love that, right? That my wife is able to work and do all that good stuff. It still comes back to the fact of she shouldn't have to, right? And we should be able to provide as men enough. Now, if we have the same vision and the same goal and we're working towards the same thing, by all means.
Yeah, but this is something that I've been working with a coach, me and Emily have here lately, and like, the woman's job is to nurture, and this isn't like some woke shit.
No,
like it's not to piss somebody off.
Nature,
like,
though.
That
like,
she can't, you know. However, like, you know, being a mother is one of the most important jobs for them. Now, also being around as a dad too. However, I don't think it's bad for kids to see the dad get up, you know, as Dave Ramsey say, leave the cave, kill something, bring it home.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so like there's nothing wrong. I've got, Elliot works in my office, like, love the hell out of her, so appreciative. She does a lot for us. So there's places for women in the workplace. However, like, I mean, if and that's enough. That's why I'm so damn passionate about the Dave Ramsey stuff, is like, it's given us this opportunity that, Reagan's sick today. So Emily, yeah, she still went in the office, did a few things. However, she had some flexibility, some freedom there that, with the sick kid, that she didn't have to worry about her work not getting done. She delegate what needs done to Ellie or Jonathan and move on. So yeah, I mean, but that's one thing, like, for me, like, I want to build something with my wife. It's just, growing up without a mom around, like, that's something I don't want my kids to see, don't want my kids to be part of. So like, I want them to see that we're unified as a team. And it's not, and I have no problem of taking the charge. Like, Emily is a phenomenal follower. I could say we're going to go do this, and sometimes she don't even tell me my ideas are stupid. She just does them with me, So
unlike my wife has no problem giving me criticism. My wife calls me out on my shit all the time, dude. Like, zero problem calling me out on my shit. Like, not even an ounce of it, right? But yeah, that's just it. Your wife has to be. I mean, that comes back. Let's go down this path because we're on it. The successful marriage piece, right? Like, and running a business.
Yeah.
In general, like, if you're a business owner, your wife's not involved with the business, she still needs to be on the same page.
Right.
Right. Like, if you guys are not on the same page from where you're at financially, what sacrifices you're going to make. Like, we had JP in here yesterday, and he making all the guys feel like they want to go start their own business, and I'm like, hey, so just so y'all are aware, it's not all freaking sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
And he I'm like, it sucks in the beginning. Where I'm at now, love my life. I don't know if me and Tori would have survived if we met when I first started the business. I don't know, because I definitely could have dated then.
Right.
And that's the hard part, man. Like, those early stages of a business are like an early stage in a relationship. You cannot put, like, all that weight on there,
right,
and not have a firm, sturdy foundation. And it comes back the same way with having a marriage.
Well, and I mean, like, marriage is hard. I don't care what anybody says, and in my opinion, you got to be open. There can't be hiding shit. Like, financials are financials. Like, one checking account. She has access to it. She knows what's going on. Like, talk about a budget.
Yep.
Whatever that is. Like, you got to be able to, and yeah, I mean, yours and Tori's conversation about the business are different than mine and Emily's, because, mine and Emily's is, all right, I'm going to lead this part. We need to delegate this part kind of thing, where she's just a sounding board, like, yes, an encouragement. So,
yeah.
But it's just, like I said, but a successful business is hard too.
Yes. It's a work,
yes,
right? And everybody that thinks that we just got here and now it's here,
right,
and you don't have to work on it, like, it aggravates me when people think that they can just set. Well, it doesn't aggravate me. I just watch them freaking fail when they set and forget, right? Like, we have some friends in the space, some mutual friends in the space that have done that, and they have to go back in to reel the whole damn thing back together because they got lazy.
Yep.
Like, there's no other way to go about it.
Yep.
And I'm not saying you got to work in your business for freaking 80 hours every week,
right,
but it comes back to that.
So that
that's a good. That's a good topic, though, like the 80 hours a week thing. And like, in the beginning, though, you have to, right? There's no freaking option. You don't get one. And anybody out there that wants to start a business, I don't discourage you from doing it. Just understand what you're setting yourself up for.
Well, if you can't have the delayed gratification, it's not going to happen. And like my personality is, I still want to be working. Like, I'm the type of person, I look for more stuff to do. Like, I took on being a general contractor, building my own house. Just in the middle of two flip houses. Then, still trying to give my team my 100% all in the business. That's just something that I like to do. So you're going to have to. And also, for me, it's a struggle with like team members. Like, if you're going to ask them to go above and beyond, they got to see you do it.
Yep.
And fortunately, like, especially like I've got Nick been with me 3 years now. He's seen it. Like, even the last couple of years, we've done a little bit more traveling, that kind of stuff. But they see me back at work, like, I was out in Pennsylvania last week. 2 weeks before that, I was down at Abner's retreat. So they see me bouncing all over the freaking wall, So, but they see me come to do stuff like this to just pour into your team. That has no, like, no direct monetary value to me. Like, if I can help change one of your team members' lives, like, it's totally worth it to me. And the team sees that, they understand my heart.
Well, and that's just it, man. You have to make sure you're portraying that properly. Because, I do quite a bit of traveling as well. And the team, I never get any pushback. At least they're not bitching in my face.
Well, it's funny.
And I would catch it anyways.
Ellie just texted me. She's like, "Are you still at that team retreat?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was just telling me what she had going on.
Yeah, no, they'll update me on stuff. And they'll call me if shit hits the fan. But it's a really nice feeling. That's probably so. Everyone wants to talk about the freedom, right? That freedom component that everyone. Oh, I started a business, so I have freedom. That to me is becoming more of what the freedom thing is. It's just not being able to necessarily just walk away, but like being able to walk away for a week and be like, you know what, shit's good. I don't have to worry about freaking shit catching on fire and stuff's still gonna get done, jobs are gonna get sold, all that good stuff. You still have that happening, and that's the true freedom that everybody's seeking. Everybody thinks that the freedom is like me sitting at home eating bonbons. And when you're there, be present with your team. Same with your kids, right? Same story. If you look at your team like they're part of your family and they're your kids, be present with them. Set the example. Do all that good stuff. It's literally the parallel, and how you do one thing is how you do everything. It's one thing we're constantly talking about within Revolt, and it's true. If you're working your ass off while you're home and you're being intentional while you're there, making sure that you spend time with your kids, you'll do the exact same thing when you're at work, and you'll do the exact same thing when you're down here in the retreat working. And that's what it really comes down to, in my opinion. That's a really good point, just because like everybody wants to be an entrepreneur until they're an entrepreneur. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I don't think that I would not walk the path again, but there's definitely a lot of shit I would do different. Know what I know now. The last, I stole this from Eric, man. As we get towards the end of the show, we could go for a freaking hour, and we can you and I can go for 2 hours if we have to, right? But is there anything that's on your heart that you want to share? Kind of like Eric does in his podcast. I literally stole it from him. I still Franken business, Franken podcast, Franken whatever, man. I'm just doing it all scabbed from everyone else. Is there anything that you want to share? Make sure that you get out there.
No, I just thanks for having me come to your team retreat. I'm just passionate about the financial freedom stuff, man. Because it truly affects everybody. It has nothing to do with your business, but it has everything to do with your business because there's this freedom at that piece, and just to be able to come and talk to your team, and when we did our first retreat 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Your brother Caden took it to heart and saved up some money, so just it's worth it to me for just to get it out there. But whenever somebody like that actually puts in the work and gets the results, that's what I'm here for. I didn't grow up dreaming of having a roofing company.
There's not a one of us.
So it's funny. There was somebody that commented on one of my posts the other day and said, Rhett may be the first person, I think it may have been Abner.
Abner might have grown up dreaming.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyways.
He's just dreaming to get out of that horse's butt. So that's why he drives Dodge.
And the roofs were going by nice and slow while he was, anyways.
But somebody said that Rhett may be the first one to grow up wanting to be a roofer. It's just an opportunity, to bless a lot of people and really help, just help people, just if you live a life like that of look for opportunities to help people, be kind. There's so much just hate and anger, and sometimes I have to tell myself that. I literally yesterday was dealing with a customer that was a little
abrasive.
Just, I think you've cussed it plenty of times on this podcast.
Yeah, you can say whatever the fuck you want, dude.
The one thing the sales rep said on it was, the guy was an asshole, he wasn't a liar. Yeah. So what had happened, he hired an inspector. He was trying to find something wrong with what we did. And this inspector sent this roofer over, and we put a duration shingle on that house. Shit, I'm probably going to say August. So that it was sealed down, and they went there to rip up to see how many nails we had in it. And I mean, he just ripped the shit out of these shingles. And then he told the guy there was a lot of shingles up there with 3 nails in it. So he freaking flipped out on me last week. And I went up there and he's like, "What's wrong with that shingle?" And it was every shingle that guy had ripped up. I just took a picture and I showed him. Well, then he was all mad because he's like, "That guy's lying to me." Like, he must have thought that I'd get mad enough to hire him
to do the roof,
to redo the roof.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sir, we make mistakes. Like, we're gonna go fix it.
Yeah.
Like, we're not perfect. We made mistakes. However, like, you know, and you know, just we had to listen to him. And you know, and at the end, I shook his hand and I told him thank you. And you know, he's freaking 70-some years old. Like, he has nothing better to do at this time.
The customer sitting out there in the lawn chair.
Oh my gosh, dude! Like, the roof's over here, and I'm clear over there, like rolling magnets. And I start picking up nails, and he's like, "How did you get roofing nails clear over here?" And they were drywall nails because they were cupped in. And I just kept rolling it over there, like, you know, had nothing to do with us, but you know, so
just trying to go above and beyond.
yeah, just you know, be kind to people, man. Like, everybody's hurting, everybody's got a story, and that's just kind of like that's kind of my 2024. Just trying to be more kind, more understanding. And that's a struggle because as a business owner, like, you also have to be firm.
Correct.
You know,
love from a distance is what
yeah.
I like to put it as, right? Like, I can love you, but it doesn't mean you have to work here in order
Right,
for me
right.
to love you, right? Or be my customer in order for me to love you. And no, that's a good point, man. Is like the kindness thing. Like, we all like to get jaded about, oh, you voted for this, you voted for that on the politics thing, or you believe in blah 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 blah, all that shit. That's all it is.
Yep.
Is it shit? Like, if we boil it down to a macro and we sit down and have conversations with people, regardless of race, religion, ethnic background, whatever you want to put a label on someone for, we all really just want the same thing, and that's just to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And why would you deflate someone else's balloon to give you some form of, you know, instant gratification that long term is really just going to eat away at your soul?
The one thing I want to challenge you is when you say be happy, like, I think too much in this world, and not necessarily you, I'm just saying as a world, like,
No.
we're going to be happy when we get this size house, or we're going to be happy when we get this house, this truck, or when we make this amount of money. And like, we've got to be happy where we're at, because that house, that truck, that amount of money isn't going to make you happy. And unfortunately, like, we got to look in the mirror and like deal with our own shit.
Yeah.
And you know, like, one kick I'm on here is the 4 agreements, and I'll probably mess this up since I wasn't prepared for this, but the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word, do what you say you're going to do. Like, ow, like, you spit and chew that up for a while, you're like, don't make assumptions. So I feel like that'd clean up a lot of problems. So I assume this, you know. Actually had a customer call me yesterday. We did a big job at a church, and she's like, "I assumed you guys were going to put snow guards up there." And it ended up being roof, soffit, gutters.
Yeah, you just take care of it.
I was like, we'll take care of it. It's a church I went to some with my dad. My dad still goes there, you know. Impeccable with your word, don't make assumptions. Always do your best, and don't take anything personally. And like, and that's kind of a hard one to swallow. Like, if somebody treats you like crap, it really has nothing to do with you. It's all them. And then when you go and treat somebody like crap, you're like, son of a.
Yeah.
Like, that's all me. That has nothing to do with my kids making a mess or whatever, you know. So that is one thing that, like, I'm focusing on 2024 is just, and you know, and part of that is just like self-reflection on life and where I'm at, and you know, like, all the problems with whole roofing and remodeling are from Bob and Emily.
Yeah.
All the problems with all American, sorry, all
still
American
do it.
roofing pros is the owners. I mean, you know, so like, that's kind of hard to swallow sometimes, but it's not kind of, it is the truth.
It's true. No, and it is, man, and that's what's challenging about growing, because it's easy to say, oh, this person, this, that, this customer, this employee, whatever, and try to point the blame on them instead of just owning it. Like, we're at the top of our companies, both of us are, and anything that happens, small or large, is a direct reflection of who we are. And that's something that's hard to just accept, because, you know, I didn't lead them well enough in some capacity. And it could be trickle-down leadership.
Yep.
It could be that I didn't lead their leader well enough, or I didn't lead their leader well. You know what I mean? If your company's big enough. But every company, if they had that attitude, just would take accountability for what they're doing and start to clean up their crap. Because otherwise, we just let crap happen, and we're like, oh, it was that person. And then we cycle it out, and we ruin somebody else. They might have been a great person when we hired them, but it doesn't fix the internal problem. If we didn't change the process, if we didn't change what was wrong with it, none of it matters. We can just keep doing the same crap. And back to the happiness thing, man. No, I think that's something that I've tried to be super intentional with, is just being happy with right now, in the present, in this exact moment. Because especially guys like you and I that are successful, it's easy to get happy at the destination. But when you get to the destination, you realize you were so much happier with the journey.
Right.
Right? Like, I had more fun when it was just the three of us, more than I realized, right? It wasn't fun by any freaking means on the like work side, but like looking back on it now, like, man, we did it in that, and like the joy that it brings me in being, you know, I can't go back to those moments,
right.
But knowing that we were there, and it's made me realize, like, yeah, we're in some growing pains right now or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like, just be happy with where the company's at. Be happy that it's as successful as it is. Be happy your marriage is successful as it is, or your kids are where. Back to the kids thing, man. Like, be happy with the stage that they're at, instead of worrying about, like you said, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if, I'll be happy, you know. And that's putting contingency on it, man. Don't put a contingency on it. Just be happy.
Well, and one thing that I've learned a lot lately is, like, quit saying but and saying and. Like, you know, I'm stressful, you know, because, or, but this, like, that can be stress, and you can still enjoy it. Like, you know,
yeah, like, you don't have, like, they can live. They're not exclusive, right?
Yep.
That's what it comes down to. Like, too often we want to say, like, oh, because I'm growing a business, I can't just enjoy the little things. I can't enjoy the building of the processes, or I can't enjoy the fruits of my labor, as small as they may be.
Yep.
Right? But if we don't celebrate those wins, that's where burnout happens. That's where business owners get burnt out and they don't want to work in the business anymore. They fall out of love with their business, you know, and that's huge.
Yeah, I was just listening to Andy Frisella podcast yesterday, and he talked about, like, you know, as business owners, we can't get too arrogant of, like, oh my gosh, we've grown it over 5 million, like, oh yeah, you know, we're the best. However, there's days that you feel like you absolutely suck, and you got to remember, holy crap, 2.5 years ago or 3.5 years ago, like, it was me and my dad put his darn medal up here, you know,
yeah.
However that looked like. So
yeah.
There's times you got to remember, like, you know, hey, you know what, I have grown a team to this size. And then there's some days that you got to, like, check yourself, like, hey, you know, I'm fortunate and I'm blessed. And, you know, I mean, the old saying for a business owner, it's like, you know, you go from, you know, it's a roller coaster ride of emotions. Like, you know, you think you're on top of the world when a sales guy sells this job, and then literally 2 hours later you get called that you put the wrong color siding on a house or whatever it is. You're like, son of a gun.
It is.
So,
yeah. And that's all businesses, man. It's like, it is. It's an emotional roller coaster, but you have to. The goal is, like, it's an uphill climb for anything, right? And there's a lot of bumps in the beginning. The goal is to smooth those out, right? And make it so that it's just a nice, smooth, easy as possible. And still understand that even at size, you're still going to have dips.
Okay.
You're still going to have peaks that make you feel really good and get euphoria. But try to level those out and just make it so it's nice and easy, and the waves are a little less choppy. And but yeah, man, you're right. You do have to do that. I love that, the way Andy put that, or you put it in this circumstances. You do have to be humble, but at the same time, be proud.
Yep.
And it's hard, because, like, the world tells us completely different.
Yep.
Like, either don't have humility and be vain and post about all your shit on Facebook, or, you know, oh, well, yeah, you can't be proud of that, because that's not how the world works. Or you can't. Back to the money thing, man. Like, I don't hate money. I hate what people do with money sometimes, but, you know.
The problem with that is, like, as a society, like, we're okay with you doing. Oh, you're doing good as long as I'm doing better. Like, what's wrong with somebody else doing better? You know, I posted when we started building the house, like, this isn't about bragging. This is about, you know, 13 years of working our asses off, you know, and doing it the right way. And, you know, yeah, like I said, like it's fun to see one of our guys in the middle of buying his own house. Like, you know, couple of my guys are getting ready to upgrade houses over the next few years, and like that's, like to me, like that's more fun for me. But I've also got to remember to keep my family in mind, and like a new house to them, like my kids are really going to enjoy that. My wife's going to appreciate that, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, and there's not, man. And that's what society wants to try to bring us, and like, oh, you're just a greedy business owner, and that you and I both know that's not true. And we have to enjoy the fruits of what we're doing. We didn't start this thing so that way we could live in the same house,
Yep.
and have the same life. Just like we don't bring in people to work for us, you know, and pour them at retreats for them to be like, you know, dude, the house you're in, it's fine.
Right.
Or the school district that you're in that you don't want your kids to go to, it's fine.
Right.
We have to have the same expectations for ourselves, or the same parameters, or the same goals, or the same hopes. You know, because it's so easy to pour into people and love on them, but then, you know, our wives are really good at reminding us, hey, bro, what about us? You know? And that's really what it comes down to, man. It's just, as a business owner, focusing on you, loving on yourself, and being proud of yourself.
Yep.
So I really do appreciate you coming on here, man. It's been a really good conversation, just like all of our conversations are. Hell, if we had a podcast recording with most of our phone calls, man, we'd be Andy Frisell. You know? And but I want to just thank everybody for watching. I want to give an opportunity to connect with Bob. And if you are in a spot where you're not financially, you know, okay, I would implore you to find a Ramsey class, or to reach out to Bob directly. I know he's been a fantastic resource for my life in helping me understand how my finances could work better for me. Him and his wife Emily are great proponents of that, and great role models for not only our industry but just the world, man. And nothing but love for you guys and your kids and your family, and just want to thank you for your friendship and all that good stuff, man. It's been a hell of a roller coaster just in the last 3 years of getting to know you, and getting to know Hell. I know you pretty damn well, but you know, we're gonna keep on doing it, man, and doing it together. So I love you, brother, and thank you for tuning in to the Why. If you know anybody that can hop on the podcast, for sure we'd love to have them on board. And we want to continue to ask yourself, you know, what's your purpose?